Morning.
It's good to be here with you. I'm kind of glad I'm speaking before lunch rather than after lunch because there's less likelihood you'll fall asleep. But again, it's good to be here. As he said, my name's Carl Presley, and I'm a nephew of Fay Pilkenton. And when I was asked to share this biographical sketch about Fay, I realized she's about to be 95 years old. So I thought it would only be fair and proper that I devote 1 minute of my talk for each year of her life. So I just want you to sit back, relax, and take it easy. I'll be through in an hour and 35 minutes. But I promise I won't take that long, but I will just say a few minutes to reflect about Fay's wonderful life. She was born on December the 8th in 1914, the fourth of 6 children of Linda Carricker Pilkenton and John Thomas Pilkenton. She was born here in Molina at the family farm, and Fay had 3 older siblings, Elizabeth, Thomas, and Nell, and 2 younger brothers, Jack and Walter. Now, just a few major events that happened in 1914, I happened to look them up, but World War I began in 1914. For those of you who are car enthusiasts, the Ford Motor Company announced an 8-hour day and that they would pay everybody $5 a day. The Panama Canal Treaty was signed, and for those of you who like sports, the Boston Braves beat the Philadelphia Athletics in the World Series. So if you ever have a test on 1914, you got 3 or 4 events you can remember. One of Fay's earliest memories is going to school. And although her older brother and sisters had started school at Union Schoolhouse, which I passed on the way in this morning, when Fay started at school, they all went to Molina. Elizabeth and Nell traveled to school with Fay, and Thomas, the oldest brother, was always the driver and very much in charge. For those of you who know Thomas, you can appreciate that he was in charge. Fay has a lot of fond memories of the buggy and surrey rides to and from school with her brothers and sisters. In those days, they left the mule and the buggy at the house of a cousin while they went to school. And Fay shared a very interesting and funny story with me about that mule. And I thought about it and I thought about it, but I can't tell that story. It's a really good story. So I don't want you to pass the day without hearing it, but you'll need to ask Fay about that one. The Pilkentons enjoyed a good family life on the farm, but everyone had their chores. And Fay's chore was to dry the dishes. The only problem was that she broke almost as many dishes as she dried, and that resulted in a whipping. Now, she tells me that since then she's been very, very careful always when she washes dishes. The whippings were not very often, but when you had to go and fetch your own Peachtree switch and bring it back to your mama to whip you, I don't know if that's ever happened to any of you, but you had already been disciplined before it got time for the whipping. Fay says that she remembers to go to school by mule, by car, by horse, and by bus. The first family car was a Briscoe. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of a Briscoe. Thomas drove the car to school, but during the Depression years, gas became so expensive they had to park the car. Now, thank goodness for the internet, because I looked up the Briscoe. And the Briscoe, it was made in 1915, sold for $785 brand new. It had a 2-cylinder engine, and for those of you that like to race, it had 24 horsepower. Fay graduated from Molina School in 1932, and there were 4 members in her graduating class. And the principal allowed them to take money that had been allotted for graduation ceremonies and to apply it along with funds that they raised for a trip from Molina, Georgia to Washington, D.C. That's in 1932. Now, Fay remembers having a great time and learning a lot on the trip, but one of the things she remembers most is that when she got home, she only had a nickel in her pocket. So she's like most of us. When you go on vacation, you spend all you got. In 1932, after a summer job at a canning plant in Concord, the Pilkenton family raked and scraped up enough money for Fay to attend Georgia State College for Women in Milledgeville. Today, that's known as Georgia College and State University. Fay said the school uniform was very stylish. I want you young ladies to hear about this. It consisted of black shoes and black hose, a brown skirt, a white blouse, and a black tie. She worked several jobs to help support her schooling during those Depression years, and in 1936 she graduated with a BS degree with a major in business and commerce, and she estimated that the entire cost of her 4 years of college was $1,500. Fay had 3 job offers when she finished college, and she decided to teach in Beaufort, Georgia. She tells me that at the end of the first year, she asked the students for feedback, and they told her that she was the strictest teacher they'd ever had. Following Beaufort, she taught 2 years in Carrollton, 2 years at Robert E. Lee in Thomaston, and then she served 6 years as an administrator in the superintendent's office there in Thomaston. In 1951 through 53, she attended Peabody College in Nashville, and she earned her master's degree. And Peabody Teachers College is now part of Vanderbilt University. She taught business education from 1948 to 1958 in Zebulon at Pike County High School. In 1958, she was recognized for her achievements in the field of business education, and she accepted a job as the Assistant State Supervisor for Business Education. She traveled all over the state of Georgia visiting schools and teachers and students, and she subsequently retired in 1976. In retirement years, those who have known Fay know that she really has enjoyed life. She's traveled, she's played bridge, she's focused on her family, and she's focused on her friends. As I think about Fay's life, there are 3 words that come to my mind. One of them is education, one of them is family, and one of them is church. Now, we've spent the last few minutes talking about her education career, but it was more than just days worked at the school. It was a strong dedication to the students and to her fellow teachers. Her dedication is recognized by the number of former students and teachers that still stay in touch with her, and when they come through Griffin, they invite her out to lunch. The second word is family. The Pilkingtons have always been a strong family over the generations, and Fay is now the matriarch of the family. And she's a very special aunt to all of us nieces and nephews. And now there are great nieces and nephews and even great-great-nieces. Her ongoing care and love are always there, and hopefully she feels that same deep love that her family has for her. The third word is church. Fay joined this church, Mount Olive Baptist Church, when she was 12 years old. And she tells me she was baptized in Mountain Creek, which is not too far from here. Although having lived in several different places, Fay has always kept her membership here at Mount Olive. She's taught Sunday school here for a number of years, and I hardly ever stop by her house or hardly ever call her on the phone that she doesn't have some story to tell me about something that's going on here at Mount Olive. Mount Olive has provided one of the main avenues in which Fay has been able to serve and be faithful to her God. Fay, it's been an honor for me to share this biographical sketch with everybody today. And we, nieces and nephews, just want you to know how very special you are to us and how much we love you.
And just for the dog fans in here, if we still have any left after yesterday, that was 2 years before Sanford Stadium had its first game against Yale University. So it's back there. I told Miss Fay when she told me about that, I said, I just hope to live to 82, much less be a member of a church for 82 years. The other interesting thing about her having been here, of course, she's like you, Mark. Everybody's heard Mark say before, he was in church 9 months before he was born, and Miss Fay was too. And so she's been here all 95 plus years of the time that she's been around, and since the gleam in her dad's eye on. That's a whole lot of lifetime in one church and dedicated to one church, and we've all felt it. But one of the interesting things about that is that I was talking to Miss Fay about how many different pastors she saw come through Mount Olive, and she could remember 15 pastors. Now that doesn't sound like that much in 95 years, but when you consider that 36 of those years were by Bob Williams, Connie's husband, that's a significant number of pastors to have seen come and go here at Mount Olive. Now, some of the things Carl's already talked about her being being here in the church and being a teacher and everything, but just a little more specifics on that. The thing about Fay that all of us who are members of Mount Olive now can take and use to model is that, except for the times when Fay was in school or away from here with work, she was active as a member of this church. And even the last few years when she's not been able to get here all the time, she's been active. She's one of our prayer warriors. And for those of you that, as you get older and you can't get out and come as much, take an example from her about how you can continue to remember this church in your prayers and be one of our prayer warriors. We appreciate that, Ms. Fay. We can feel that. We appreciate it. But while she was able to do it, she was very active in a number of different things. She served on every kind of committee that it be, finance committee, nominating committee, but probably the committee that she was on, it was a special committee, and quite frankly, it got started because of Miss Fay. She wanted something done about the fact that we had all these minutes and records, and they were scattered everywhere. They were stored in old files, and they were starting to fall apart, and Miss Fay had a heart for preserving the records and the history of this church. And so we formed a committee, and she was in control of it. I don't remember who all was on the committee with her, but I can tell you it was pretty much a committee of one to make sure that job got done right. And thanks to her, our records, at least up until Bill McCain got here, I think that was the second time that they did some microfilming, but all the records that we had access to before that, our minutes, have been microfilmed and are in our safe deposit box, so that if we ever need to go back and look at those things to determine historically something about this church, we have the ability to do that. And that's a great legacy for anybody to lead this church. We appreciate that. Just one final thing I want to say on sort of a personal thing. How many of y'all have ever had Miss Fay come up to you when she had something really bugging her that was going on in the church, or that she needed to, she saw something happening she didn't think quite was the way it was? Well, I bet you Jack Park has had that happen before. Anybody that's ever served, like I have, Jack and some of the other folks, as chairman of the deacons, have had this look Miss Fay can give you, and she's got something on her mind. She'll come up to you and she'll turn her head, and she'll say, "Now, David, I always paid attention to that. I may not always did exactly what you wanted me to do, but I always paid attention to it." And, the thing that told me was what a heart you have for this church, how much you love this church, and how much each one of us can model that going forward, to see that Mount Olive continues to be the strong church that it needs to